Hello, this is Alex Eames from Raspberry.tv. Raspberry Pi 4B launches today. It's a fresh new generation of Pi with brand new silicon, the Broadcom BCM2711, quad-core Cortex A72 ARM v8 64-bit system-on-chip running at 1.5 GHz. The new Video Core 5 GPU is able to drive dual 4K displays and can handle H.265 decode at 4K P60. It has true gigabit Ethernet, independent of USB. It's got USB 3 and dual 4K HDMI outputs. There's also 2.4 and 5 GHz 802.11b, G, N and AC wireless, and a choice of 1, 2 or 4 GB of LPD DR4 memory, depending on which model you select. Pi 4B is the same form factor as the Pi 3B Plus, but instead of one full-size HDMI port, there are two micro HDMI ports. The power input is now a USB-C connector with a recommended minimum PSU rating of 3 amps. This port is also OTG enabled. Ethernet and USB ports have been flipped around. They now look like this. Left to right you now have two USB 2 ports, two USB 3 ports, and a gigabit Ethernet port. The GPIO pins are in the usual place, and Pi 4B should be able to run pretty much any hat or add-on that works on the Pi 3B Plus. If GPIO tinkering is your thing, the Pi 4B fits perfectly on the Raspio breadboard Pi bridge, both with and without the Pi cover on. When I first fired up my Pi 4B and browsed a web page, my reaction was, this is the first Pi that loads web pages faster than a decent mobile device. You can also have multiple browser tabs open and it works really well. Starting up desktop applications is much faster, and they're faster in operation too. It's a much more usable desktop experience. The processor does get pretty warm, so if you're going to put your Pi 4B in a case, it might be worth having a fan or heatsink. But there's nothing to worry about. It will self-throttle to prevent damage if it gets close to the limit. How much does it cost? The 1 GB variant maintains Raspberry Pi's traditional $35 plus shipping and local taxes Model B price point. 2 GB is $45, 4 GB is $55. In the official Raspberry Pi store in Cambridge, they're priced £33, £43 and £53 for the 1, 2 and 4 GB models respectively. In a nutshell, there's much more processing oomph, much faster connectivity, dual 4K display capability, and optionally more RAM. I'm expecting Pi 4 to be very popular as it's a really usable general purpose computer and cheap as chips, but a bit more crunchy. Now let's take a closer look. The processor. The BCM2711 is a quad-core Cortex A72 64-bit CPU, which has a Video Core 5 graphics processing unit handling all graphical input-output. It's been designed to cope with 4K resolution and H.265 video, as well as video scaling, camera input, and all HDMI and composite video outputs. The 2711 also has proper native USB 3 and gigabit Ethernet interfaces. Ethernet controller. The BCM54213 handles the gigabit Ethernet connection, but can fall back to slower speeds if connected to slower networks. A big step change in the Pi 4 generation is that the I/O from this chip is no longer herded through a shared USB channel on the main processor, so now works at a full gigabit speed. This makes the Pi 4 much more useful than previous generations for use cases such as a software-driven router, a media server, or a bridge between Wi-Fi and Ethernet networks. USB controller. The VL805 chip is the controller for the two USB 3 and the two USB 2 ports. Memory. On the Pi 4, the RAM is on the same side of the board as the processor. Pi 2 and Pi 3 had the memory on the rear of the board, and Pi 1 had the RAM on top of the processor as a package-on-package, or POP. Power circuitry. The Pi 4 uses the MXL 7704 that was developed specifically for Raspberry Pi 3B Plus. In hindsight, you can bet they had Pi 4 in mind all along. This was clearly preparatory work for the higher current demands of the Pi 4 silicon, and helping simplify the board design to bring down costs. This circuit has also been tweaked for the Pi 4. Wi-Fi antenna. The ProAnt resonance cavity antenna debuted for Pi on the Pi Zero W and has subsequently been used in the 3B Plus and 3A Plus models. It works flawlessly in my experience, and it's really no surprise to see it being used here. Congratulations are in order to Raspberry Pi for being able to deliver the goods and still hit their $35 plus shipping and taxes price point for a really much faster and much better board with much higher capabilities. This was Alex Eames for Rasppi.tv. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, share and subscribe.